Mhm.
So, Ryan, thank you again for coming on the podcast here. So, for any of our listeners who don't know anything about you yet, would you mind please telling us about yourself and how Specs by Ryan came to be?
Hi, my name is Ryan Horn. I live in Regina, Saskatchewan, and I have a store called Spex by Ryan. It's about just over 6 years old right now. And I've been in the industry since I graduated in 1992. Basically, 1993 is when I got into the industry in Swift Current, where I grew up. And there was a local store there. I've told this story so many times. There was a local store there, and it's still there, called Optical Image. And everyone else in high school was going to university and going to do education, commerce, engineering, all that stuff, and that just wasn't for me. And I saw this really cool little store with the owners Gary and Dara, who just looked like they were having so much fun, and just it just looked like a very fun, successful business that I thought I'd like to do that someday. So
Mhm.
got into it. Very few of us actually seek out becoming an optician. Most people end up just falling into it with some sort of a job at an optometric practice, and then the
Yeah.
next thing you know, they end up dispensing eyewear.
Yeah.
But I sought it out, and I ended up in Regina uh, at a major optometric clinic here. There were 7 and even up to 9 doctors at one time, and a lot of traveling to satellite offices. And I had a great mentor in the lab, and great mentors on the dispensing floor. And we were selling some pretty cool stuff then too. So it just the ordinary, the regular, I could just see was never going to be for me. It was always going to have to be eyewear is going to have to be special and not a
Yeah.
commodity. So that's what I've just kept going on and on and on. Worked for another optometric practice for 17 years, where I controlled the dispensary, and then it was time where I got into the industry to have my own business
Yeah.
at one point, and it was time to start Specs by Ryan. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of how it came to be,
Mhm.
and here we are.
That's insane. So, you literally just saw this one store and you were just like, this is it. Like, this is what I want to
Yeah,
do. Yeah. I feel
I
like
was a
that.
client. Yeah, I was a client, so I kind of knew who they were. I knew
Yeah.
what it was about, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I feel like when you're really passionate about your career, as in, yeah, you didn't just kind of fall into this category of being an optician or being involved in eyewear. It makes it so that your job will never disappoint you, or like you'll never be tired of your job because you actually are doing something that you
yeah.
wanted to do the whole time. So that's amazing. Yeah.
Hmm.
We're so happy that you decided to pick, the optician career because you really are changing the industry for sure. But how do you go about choosing which brands will become part of your eyewear selection?
Well, I was introduced to the independent side of eyewear, gosh, maybe 15 years ago, and I haven't looked back. It's like once I got a taste of non big box brand, non mass produced product. Once I got to know the actual designers and the those responsible for creating these pieces on a personal level, it's like I mean, I can't just sell a name brand on a side of a frame anymore. And that was part of it, where in Saskatchewan in general, I mean, it's always been a few years behind the major centers, right? So people, would be kind of limited in their knowledge of what is good and what is not, and quite often that associated with a major brand associated that was written on the side of the frame. And then if it had that, well, then it was good, and it was expensive, and it was great. And I learned that that wasn't the case. So it's one of those things where the independent side of things was a whole new world, and for me to bring it to Saskatchewan on a bigger level, where it was almost like a challenge, where I think I could sell that stuff here. I'm selling stuff that's more expensive that people haven't heard about. And
Yeah.
that was like a personal challenge that just became so addicting, where people just fell in love with what I was providing and telling the stories, and about what the designers are like, and that kind of thing. And even different materials. You got wood, you've got buffalo horn, you've got all these exotic kind of materials, and just the different thought process behind these things. So basically that's what came down to is letting go of the old traditional ways of having all the same reps come visit me like they visit everybody else, and we're all carrying the same thing, where I could actually um, bring in things that I could really get excited about, and also challenge people here and say, you know what, we're not a Toronto, we're not a Vancouver, we're not a Tokyo, Paris, Rome, New York, but we can sure have the same stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. And people travel now. I mean, Saskatchewan had quite a boom, prior to all this pandemic stuff over the years, and people would travel, and we would make our living here, but then we would use our airport like crazy and get the heck out of here every once in a while. And people would travel to the world and come back and love these experiences and love these things that they would see, and then notice that, oh, I can get that at home. So I choose independent. That's what I choose. That's the main thing over anything, is independent.
That's awesome. I feel like a lot of the typical optical stores, they all carry the same brands. Everyone carries the
Mhm.
same thing. And then you always have your like customers, especially your millennials, coming in and be like, hey, I want to buy something unique. I want to buy something like nobody
Different.
has, something different, something that stands out. So I feel like you have that niche there that attracts that certain buyers or customers. So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't even
Sometimes
have
they
it.
don't
Yeah.
even know what they're looking for. They think they come in looking for something, and then I give them a little detour, and they're like, oh, well, this is this. Wow, I never would have tried this. I didn't know
Yeah.
anything about this. And yeah, a lot of people do carry the same things, and it's a lot of it has to do with, oh, this is what people want. This is what people ask for. This is what they want. And my view is they don't know what they want because they haven't seen what I can bring them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to introduce them to something new.
Yep.
So Ryan, specifically, what certain characteristics, materials, colors, and trends in eyewear are you looking for that make you believe that a collection is unique?
I don't know if there's a certain formula. It's like
Yeah.
you see it and it's like,
Like
does it
what
resonate
attracts
with you or
you
not?
to it?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
is it something like there's different genres, you got your classic Americana, which there's a lot of brands doing their just classic Americana stuff, you know, P3 shapes, matte tortoises.
Yeah.
And it's like, how intricate are they? How simple are they? Are they, um, some of them are more elaborate, some have more embellishments, some of them are heavier duty, some of them are lighter. And then it's the price point, and it's like, okay, my, top tier client is going to want, the ultra rich looking ones. And then our young millennials are going to want something really low key and, you know, just classic and simple. But overall, I mean, I've had relationships with a lot of the brands I carry for many, many years. And that's what's the other part of this, the joy of the other part of this independent eyewear, is that you build these relationships with these collections and these small companies, and they just keep coming out with great stuff. So it's so easy just to keep rolling with whatever they're doing next. And then the odd time there might be some new hot new collection that just kind of makes a splash, and you're like, oh, okay, I think I'm ready to try something like that. So I can't say for sure what it is. It's like, how does it resonate with you, and then how does it fit in with the rest of the collections you sell? Are you missing any kind of genre, or what do you are you low on this price point but this kind of a style, and do you need something a little more wacky and out there that you're not going to sell all the time, but it sure gets people in the door and gets them talking? They all have a purpose. So I wish I could tell you it's like, but a lot of the companies I've dealt with for so long, so it's like whatever they have next, and then the odd time I'll just bring in something fresh if it hits me.
Yeah, it's like whatever speaks to you. And I feel like that is independent eyewear, right? Because it's not, I mean, the top brands like Rav was mentioning, like the Ray-Bans and the and the Gucci, whatever, those frames, they don't even care what it looks like. Like it doesn't need to look like anything. It just has to have the name on the thickest, boldest, or thinnest frame, and people will not pay attention to what it looks like. But with independent eyewear, a lot of us don't know the brands. We don't know the names. So you have to look at it. You have to literally pay attention to the details and think, oh, like this little, gold detail on the side, like I love that. That stands out, or that speaks to me. So that's, I feel like that is the whole purpose of independent eyewear, which is always fun.
Yeah.
Are your brands mainly Canadian, or are they more like European?
There are, gosh, I have only a couple of Canadian brands.
Okay.
Wrap out of Toronto. There's not many Canadian brands, to tell the truth. There's Spectacle Eyeworks from Vancouver, and Wrap from Toronto. And forgive me if I'm forgetting anybody. I'd be a terrible Canadian.
They're gonna call you tomorrow. Why did you mention us?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's generally American, European, and American brands that either they have their head office in the United States, or some of them are out of Europe. A lot of them are made in Japan, but they're distributed out of the United States.
I might be asking you another difficult question to answer. So, but we're really curious because, you've been in the industry for so long, and, everyone has different styles and different needs with their eyewear. So what would be your typical process or questions to ask in helping them find their perfect pair of glasses?
Regardless of age and everything, I probably do it the same for everybody, but I really want to establish a comfort level for people that, just to let them, like, because this is a very stressful, and in a lot of cases, it causes anxiety, and it's a very I don't know, it's just not a pleasant experience for a lot of people from what they're used to in other places. So they come in quite often, they don't want to be here. It's like, I don't know how to find some glasses. I can never find any. And, there's a lot of ice I have to break first. And I just want to get them comfortable and relaxed, and we're going to have some fun today. We're going to, we're going to, try on a bunch of different things, and we're going to walk you through it. We're going to, take you on a little tour of all these different collections, and we're going to warm you up a little bit. And quite often, I always ask, is there anything you were thinking that you were really kind of liking, that you think you'd really kind of dig on for yourself? And sometimes they'll go, oh, I like this, or this. But most often they're like, I don't know. I have no idea. Awesome. Clean slate. What are you wearing now? So I have a look what they're wearing now. They tell me about it, whether they like it or don't, or whatever. And if they really like it, I, regardless of what it looks like, I try to warm them up with styles that are not too far from what they have, just to get them used to looking at that mirror and looking at that image of the mirror, that person that they know look different. And it's weird for them to see themselves look different. So I like to make just the whole warming up process. Now, some people might go, no, these are just like what happened. Okay, move on. Let's try something a little more adventurous or whatever, right? So, but in general, I just keep it really smooth, relaxed, and try them on with something that they're comfortable with, and that they can kind of build some trust in me. And it's because they don't know who I am half the time. They're,
I feel like patients are always thinking that the glasses that they choose this year are going to be glued to their face permanently for the rest of their life. And I feel like that gives all that anxiety, when sometimes I do tell them at my clinic, I'll be like, it's okay to try something new, because you're going to come back in 2 years and you're going to buy another pair of glasses. So you're going to be someone different just for 1 or 2 years. And then if you're tired of that, you can switch it up again. And I feel like people forget that all the time. They always think that it's like a life or death situation if they pick the wrong frames.
Well, a big part of it, again, in our industry, is that it's an all upfront cost. And That's the biggest perception, no matter what, no matter how much they're paying.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're buying a car.
Yeah.
It's like this is the most expensive thing they're ever going to buy, and oh, that's what's so frustrating. However, maybe that if it's a Saturday, that night they're going to go out for dinner and they're going to spend $300 on dinner and not
Yeah.
blink an eye.
Yeah.
Or their trip to Costco, there's $400 in the cart that didn't have to be $400 in the
Yeah.
cart. You know, all these things. So you're right. There is a lot of pressure they put on themselves, and
Yeah.
I definitely, again, in my rapport building with them, I will try to let them know that I'm here to help them. I'm here to see them from a stranger's perspective, how others will see them on the street, in the restaurant, in the grocery store, at work.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, what they're looking at in the mirror is weird to them, but I want, like I say, within reason. I'm not trying to, put you into witness protection program here unless they need it. um, I really want to help them find their eyewear potential within reason. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I say, I do bring up the longevity. I'm like, I've been doing this for 30 years, pretty much. Like, I've seen it all,
Yeah.
like, I think I know what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to really portray that without, I don't want to sound arrogant or anything, but at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day, it's just like, just listen to me.
Yeah.
like I think, I generally can read the room. I can read what your personality's like, and I can tell that, maybe that wild tail looks great on you now, but I know that that's not your pair for now. That's a second pair for later or something, but this is the pair for you now. And it just brightens you up. It just looks inviting and
Mm-hmm.
friendly, and it keeps you looking young.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people want, and they do want honest. And I'll say, I'm going to tell you, here's a frame. Look at this one on here. It's like, I don't, that one on you. No, it's not doing anything for you. And I say, I will tell you, I'm here to be the bad cop too. Not everything's
Mm-hmm.
going to look great. And they're like, I say, I'm going to be very picky for you. And they're like, oh, thank you. There's
Yeah.
always that big relief. Thank you. Because I say, I have too many frames for you to go with anything.
No, that's great. You're like building up a story for this client that's coming in for when they go home with their glasses. Now they can feel like that person once they buy them. So that's great.
Right.
Another quick question. So most of our listeners on this podcast are, like we said before, either optometry students or new grad optometrists who are maybe thinking about opening up their own practice with eyewear included in that. So, in your opinion, what are the benefits of owning an independent eyewear shop versus, partnering up with the bigger box brands?
I don't know. It's, to me, I love what I do, and I just can't
Mm-hmm.
sell a commodity.
Yeah.
I'm not in it just to sell glasses. I'm in it to help people, really to change their life. And that's what feels so gratifying when I
Mm-hmm.
see people out on the street, or, when we used to go to events and stuff, and they'd be like, oh, I just got my new glasses, and they're pumped about them. They're jacked about it. So there's other people who are purely business minded people, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
well, this is what we're going to sell, and we're going to sell this many and this many units, and we're going to, fine, that's cool, go for it. That's not me. So to
Yeah.
me, there's an art. I like being an optician because there is some science involved. I didn't want to be a doctor like you. I couldn't go through all the medical stuff. I couldn't get excited about that as much, but there is definitely a lot of technical sides that I have to deal with in filling prescriptions and helping what you guys write for prescriptions, help people see the best in the finished product and help them look the best. And so then there's also the fashion aspect. So that's what I love as well. But for those who are opening up their own practices or doing their own thing, I would say, do what you do best. Do your doctor stuff. And if you want to get into more of the eyewear too, if you have time to help people choose eyewear, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
If not, get the right optician involved. Get the right team involved, and be on the right page. And you can still be involved when you're handing off the patient and have a little, oh, that looks good. You need to, oh, what about that? What about that one we were looking at? Like, be involved in it. I think that's cool. But at the end of the day, I think people need a great clinician, and they need somebody who can provide a really trustworthy and solid results.
Yeah.
then they want to have, you know, I don't, and again, independent to me is just more fun, more interesting. And I think I've been successful without a doctor for 6 years, very successful. I let people choose whatever doctor they want to go to. It's like, don't break up with your hairstylist, you know, go see whoever doctor you want. But if you want cool eyewear, that's what I'm here for. And it's not easy because, you know, the easy road is to take what, you know, the big companies have, and they give you, oh, buy X amount of pieces, get 10 free, and all these things, and get this free, get that free. And they just want to load you up with everything. And that's, to me, that's a deal with the devil. You're just like, okay, well, they're making it easy, but is it stuff that you're going to want to sell? Because then people are coming in, they're seeing what that frame is. Oh, I'm going to go look at it online, and then they'll find it online because it's everywhere. Independent, very hard to find online. And if you do, it's usually from the manufacturer for MSRP. And there's no benefit whatsoever for them to get it from a website or the manufacturer. So if that's what you want, go, like, you have to really learn that you can't please everybody. And in independent, for optometric, that's where it does get a little tricky sometimes to find that quality in the lower price points, because you're dealing with all walks of life coming into your practice.
So speaking of trying to please everybody, when we think about the idea of selling an eclectic blend of creative eyewear, just like what Rab said before, this sounds like something that would attract millennials more than anyone else. So what is your secret to attracting the diverse clientele that you already have, like people of all ages and all backgrounds?
I don't know if I'd pinpoint millennials as the only ones who want that. No, I am finding more and more Gen Xers and baby boomers who have the disposable income. Those are the clients I love and want more. The millennials are still getting established, you know, especially the really young ones. It's such a broad age range right now, but I'd say, you know, 26 or 27 and under, you know, we've definitely have a good portion of clientele. They all want the stuff, but, you know, until they get established in careers and stuff, and they want to spend, you know, $800, $900, $1,000, whatever on glasses, they definitely like it for sure. But I have found much more success with the baby boomers and Gen Xers who, they just like good stuff. They're just like, yeah, like, you know what? I got the house, I got the car, I got all this stuff and shoes, and why not the cool glasses? So, and again, those are the ones that'll buy multiple pairs. And now with all the Zoom meetings and such, you know, people are wanting to look good.
I know. I actually get really jealous of all the people we interview with really cool glasses. We also interviewed Dr. Huang. He's an optometrist from Alberta. He works with a lot of independent eyewear as well. And your glasses and his glasses, the round frames, the different colors on them, I get really jealous now because I had LASIK done. So
did
part
I.
of me just doesn't want to spend the money on frames anymore, but they're so much better than they were like 5-6 years ago.
I just didn't want to have bad eyes anymore. It was not about, and now that was like 12, 13 years ago, but now I have a slight little fine tuning correction, but I wore glasses the whole time.
Yeah.
It's especially when you're in the industry, you got to show what you're about.
I got to get those Plano lenses.
Yep, the windows.
We all kind of know that Spex by Ryan is not the typical optical store. So what does a typical optical store often look like, and how do you think optical stores should be perceived? So we're talking about more of like the setup, like how you set the store up.
I've never wanted it to be an optical. It's not called Spex by Ryan optical. To me, all that stuff is just so, I don't know. I just see a lot of opticals with the frame racks and, you know, bad carpet and bad lighting, and it, you know, that's not how you find fashion.
Yeah.
So I felt when I was opening up, I wanted it to be a reflection of myself. I'm not a guy who dresses up every day, fancy clothes. I'm a t-shirt, jeans, you know, khakis or whatever. I got sneakers on. I wanted a vibe where people would feel good when they walk in the door. I had art on the walls. Right now I got a lot of my photographs on the walls. We have graffiti. I have random stuff. I've got a whole whack of old TVs with the dials all playing. I think it was a fitness competition from 1984. So where the they're jazzercise and they're doing the it's just, or sometimes I'll have WrestleMania on
Yeah.
there.
wow.
I'll have just all the stuff that makes people go, oh yeah, at least my age,
Like reminisce. Yeah.
yeah, just like feel good. I have an old
Mhm.
telephone with the dial, rotary dial, and it's always fun to see if the young people know how to use it.
Yeah.
And then I have all my eyewear mostly in cabinets and drawers. So where they're all tucked away, I have some out on display and little shelves here and there, just to kind of showcase a few here and there. But overall, I did take the idea from more of the classic European opticians that would basically have no frames on display. They sit down with you with a cabinet next to them, they pull out drawers, and they present you with the frames. And so when people come in, they're not going, oh my God, there's like 1,300 frames on the wall, and how am I ever going to choose?
Yeah.
So to me, it creates an aesthetic where it's a chill place to come hang out and talk, and we got good music on all the time, and I just wanted to create cool vibes and be the anti-optical. It's not, I don't want anything clinical or anything.
Yeah. I think what you said about how eyewear is fashion, right? So that really just stood out to me, which makes sense now that our optical stores or our eyewear stores should be more like a retail location. Like when you sell clothing, it's not a very medical or sterile, like cold environment. You
No.
use warm lighting, nice music in the background, different shelves and different ways to present the product. So,
Right.
yeah, that just kind of resonated with me that, eyewear that's typically on those nose peg frame boards and they're all just lined up very straight and neat and tidy and empty and cold. That's not really fashion.
Nope.
That's medical. That's the eye exam. That's the room where you get your eyes checked. Yeah, it looks, very clean and put together, but yeah, I like how you just mentioned that. So that just gives a whole new perspective on how we should be selling eyewear in general.
Like look at the restaurant industry. When you go to a new like all the trendy new restaurants, some of them are absolutely rustic, and you're like, this is so cool. They kept it so simple.
Yeah.
And they, like just always thought provoking. There's different ways of using different things to as props, as whatever, to make you feel good.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming to customers too, right? Walking into a store and just seeing so many frames, and they're gonna try on everything, and at the end of the day, they won't like anything. It's everything's gonna start looking like the same at the end of the day.
Too many options.
Yeah.
Too many options. Yeah. And it's nice that you have them in cabinets. That way you're like their personal shopper, right? They have that personal experience, and that way you get to know their style, get to know their life story, and present them glasses. So in your opinion, what are the top 5 brands of eyewear that are popular amongst your clientele at this moment?
Without a question, Jacques-Marie Mage is number one. It's they've taken the classic Americana and really added, like it's like on steroids. So I always say if Quentin Tarantino had an eyewear playlist, it would be Jacques-Marie Mage. It's just filthy 70s, badass. It's unapologetically bold and heavy, but it's just rich in it. It's rich blacks and tortoises and even its crimson colors and its embellishments on with the little arrows on the top.
Oh wow!
Is that what you're wearing?
No, I'm wearing Tavat, which is another really hot one for us out of Italy. Tavat is this one here is from their soup can collection, so it's a lot thicker in the metal here, in the titanium, so it looks like they cut the top of a soup can out. And so it's very distinguishable amongst everything. It's very technical too with the temples, and how the hardware is. So in Saskatchewan, it's still sometimes a tough go selling round, and it's exhausting because, oh, Harry Potter, blah blah. I'm like, oh my god, kill me. I'm just like, it's very hard because we still live in a place where people are used to long rectangles only, and round is just a dirty word. And I tell them, I say, when I travel, when I go to the shows in New York and Vegas and that kind of thing, it's like, the world is wearing round.
Yeah.
So don't talk all Regina to me now. Like it's that's what I'll quite often say. And I more and more people are asking for it and wanting it. So it's not all that bad. It's actually, we're doing really well with it. It's just the odd time we're fighting our demographic a little bit.
I actually had a girl this morning who came in. She was a 22 young girl, and she had thin metal frames that were in a hexagon shape for her lenses. And they look so good. I was like, this is so different, and it just pops on her face. Like, you can just, it stands out. I thought they were really cool, and they were really big too, because I feel like the oversized lenses are
Still
really
good.
in style right now. Yeah.
Hexagon is kind of the new round. It's like, if you want something that looks round but just a little bit different, we're seeing more and more of the hexagonal shapes, and they're fun.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, I'm sure you get this question a lot, but do you have plans to ever create your very own eyewear line?
I really haven't. It's one of those things where I just like all the genres. I like too many different genres of eyewear. I don't think I could just pick one and say, I have to make this and this is my destiny, because I just appreciate all the different kinds. And I quite often will say, I love a good joke. I just can't invent them. I can't think of them. I could tell one, but I just can't think of one. So I'm more of the I definitely like being more of a retailer. However, it's getting to be one of those things where the options for the lower cost frames are getting more and more challenging to find something to get excited about. So there may be something down the road where I'd like to get into just low cost, but what I call Spex approved eyewear for, again, simple kind of stuff, nothing crazy, but something that I can have a little more of a hand on and feel confident in. Because we have a gas station next door, and quite often I'll think of some of the cheap product, and it's like, this must have come from the gas station next door, and I don't want that. So I want to at least, that's what I would do, but I wouldn't get into any major collection. There's so many good ones out there. They know what they're doing. I'm very happy to carry their product and sell it and keep it fresh and moving. So
yeah. Well, that was all of the questions that we had for you, Ryan. We're very happy that you came on the podcast. I think Spex by Ryan is definitely going to inspire somebody, or at least some people on our podcast when they listen. And I mean, it obviously inspires us that, now that we're learning a little bit more about independent eyewear every day, we're always keeping that in the back of our mind now too, to reach out to independent eyewear makers when, we potentially want to open up our own practices and work with an optician who can, start this process with us too. Thank you so much again for coming on. Do you have any other final thoughts or anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners about yourself, or even just Spex by Ryan in general, that we didn't get to talk about yet?
No, I think I touched on pretty much everything, and I wish everyone out there, the new grads, all the success. It's a challenging business world out there, and that's what doctors had to become more and more, are business people.
Yeah.
And enjoy what you do. Again, do what you do best, but also align yourself with the right people. And I mean, if I had room for a doctor, I would love to have one. I just don't at the moment, but I think the alignment of both of the O's is a very good one, and I think there's strength in numbers, and I think, you know, build your practices like that. Don't sell yourself to the devil. I mean, there's always going to be here, you know, we'll take care of all your student loans. I mean, maybe for some that's cool, but I mean, it's a long career. Enjoy it, and take risks, and don't do what everyone else is doing.